different people, and then you have to devise your own approach of writing literature review. Fundamentals are same, but approach can be different. So Rahulji,
Very
this
true,
is a
sir.
wonderful batch. This is wonderful batch, and just share your experiences so that they benefited by your experience of literature. Vanshika Datta is joining. I have given you sharing right, but
Yeah,
when
I
I
have shared
leave,
the screen. I hope everyone can
yes,
see this.
yeah, it is visible, Dr. Rahul Gupta. Go ahead, floor is yours.
Okay, so nice of you, Professor Roy, and thank you very much for inviting for this lecture. I can see Mr. Raju and getting motivated by his. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible, Rahul. You're audible.
Yeah, Raju sir, good morning. How are you? Raju sir is
Good
trying to
morning.
unmute. Okay. So, with the little introduction given by Professor Roy, thank you, sir. And I would like to share my experiences with the research. Yes, Professor Roy has said that I have done some work, not much, but whatever I have done, I would like to discuss with you guys. So, specifically in this lecture, we'll be focusing more on the literature review part of the research, which itself is a very important aspect because it gives us an immense idea that what other professors and other learned scholars in the area have done. So we have to search what all has been done earlier in our field, and then we try to summarize them in a systematic manner. So that becomes important that our literature review gives the author um, as an author to us and the readers of our research, that what all areas we have already studied and what has already been done by the researchers. Then we try to find out how can we further progress in the particular area. So should I start, sir, with the presentation?
Rahul, just start. Don't worry. Now people
Right.
are joining. I'm admitting them. So,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Right. So to start with, what is a literature review? It is a surveys of scholars' sources on a specific topic. Various people have done various studies. They have published in some good journals, and we try to collect those papers. And it gives us an overall current knowledge about the area. Not only the current knowledge, we also search back some seminal and very good quality classical papers also, which gives us that how theory is being developed in the past. Like basically I'm from marketing field, so if I'll go into marketing area, I can remember the papers which has been published 30 years before and maybe 35 years before, more than that also. And all those papers are very good. So we'll have to point out those gaps, like various people have studied in the various people have studied these topics of research, and then we'll have to find out what are those areas have not been discussed so far. And whatever we do, it will also be a part of our thesis also. So what is the purpose of our doing this? This demonstrate a familiarity with the topic and the scholarly context. So for example, we have studied, we would like to study some of the topic. So what all other studies have already been done? So it becomes a connection between the previous study and our study, what we are doing. And it will certainly develop a theoretical framework with a methodology. Like certain people have used certain types of methodologies. Somebody has used the structure equation modeling, somebody have used some statistical tools. So how by looking into those variables, we are going to summarize our study, and then we'll be able to find out what all areas we have studied and what all areas we have not studied. So
I think Rahul, you are disconnected.
I think the screen is frozen, sir. We lost the last
Yeah.
30 seconds, 1 minute. Something.
Rahul, can you hear me? No, should I'll give a call to him.
there was some problem with the connection.
Yeah, there was some problem in connection, Rahul. You can share it again.
Okay. Is it shared now, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So I was telling you that there are, if we'll do the proper research, with the previous papers, we will come across various scales which has already been used. Since I am in a marketing area, so ServQL is one of the major skills. Anybody who is here in the group who has done courses in marketing, sir?
See, marketing basics are being taught in the coursework itself. So I don't think they have reached up to the level of ServQL. Maybe they have studied in management MBA course, but in
So
the
I was just
coursework
trying
it is
to
yet to come.
correlate it, sir, with the previous examples, like the
Good.
ServQL, which is a developed scale used by Parasuraman, Zethimal, and Very, and people used to adopt that scale in a different settings. So that is the purpose of reviewing the literature. We come across that what has already been discussed, and we can add on our variables in those ServQL models, or maybe some other. There are hundreds or thousand types of models which are already available, or the scales which are already available. Then we can fit in those scales in our research, and we can keep on adding our variables and the questions in those. And yes, after that we'll have to check the reliability and validity of our scales. If we are using the previous scales as it is, then actually it may not require to check the authenticity of that scale. But when we keep on adding our variables into that scale, then we'll have to check the authenticity, reliability, and validity of our scales. So it will show us that how our research is going to fit in with the academic literature. So it helps us in developing a contextual, theoretical, and analytical framework in the research journey on the basis of explored variables. What are those explored variables are? Which we have studied in the other researches. So what are those parameters, what are those variables has already been taken by the other researchers. We may adopt those scales, and we can use them as it is in a different setting, or we can find out that gaps which we used to say that after reviewing the literature, we'll have to find out what are those gaps which has been which are not being studied in earlier by the researchers. So we can use them in different settings, different parameters, different contexts, different areas, and then we can explore our variables on those parameters. So this is a simple research process. If you'll read it, it's not a complex thing. Everyone has to follow this. First of all, we'll start with the problem identification, which I have written in the center. On those problems, we'll discuss it later here in this discussion only, that how to go on the literature review. After that, after doing the literature review, we try to find out the gaps. On the basis of those gaps, we develop our objectives. What are the objectives of our study? And on the basis of these objectives, we try to formulate our hypothesis. It may be the null or it may be the alternate hypothesis. On those hypotheses, we try to design the questionnaire. For fulfilling those objectives, we design a questionnaire. Data is being collected, data is being prepared. Prepared means a lot of what do you call it? Discrepancy may appear when we collect the data. we sometimes do the reverse questioning also. Like we have seen that the people sometimes don't read the full question and they just take you on some parameters. So what we do in that case, we try to reverse that, and the reader is not really aware that we have reversed it. So this gives us an idea whether the reader who is answering these questions has read it properly and answered us or not. Then we can do, while doing our research data analysis, we can further reverse that question and use a different way. So that is what is called as the data preparation. And in that case, sometimes certain users used to miss certain answers also. Then there are 2-3 ways of correcting that. Sometimes we take those questions out of our research, or sometimes we take the contextual thing. Like 90% of people have answered this. So if it is necessary, we can correct those also. After that, we do the data analysis. We analyze them by using various statistical softwares. That depends on what kind of questionnaire we are using. And then we come up with a result and conclusion. So I have tried to put in 2 arrows here, feed forward and feed backward. So what does it mean? We move in this direction, and sometimes some problem may appear. We may come back and look into the system. Like by making a questionnaire, we used to test the questionnaire with the help of a pilot system. And before that, we do that, what do you call it, reliability and validity of our questions. So that becomes a very essential part, that after doing our review of literature, formulation of objectives, designing of hypothesis, then we take these questions. Once we go with these questions to our full samples, before that we go for a pilot study. I'm sure everyone have listened to these things in their research methodology classes. So with the help of pilot study, we can run those tests which we have planned to run on our questions, that whether the desired results are coming or not. And the questions which we are framing are being clearly understood by the respondents or not. So that is what is called as a feedback backward. So if any problem is there in the questionnaire, is there any problem in there is in the reliability section of the questionnaire, then we can go back and take care of those things while doing our research. So we'll come back to on the research review literature. How does it proceed? It is a synthesis of any selected topic of our area of interest. It usually precedes a full-length original study as a way of introducing the general topic, and with the help of this background of the study, with the logical conclusion, we try to find out, is there any gap in the literature? Gap means somebody have studied in certain areas. Somebody might have studied in some particular settings. Some researchers might have studied in certain cities, in certain countries. So what we do, we try to find out whether whatever we are thinking has already been done, up to what level, and then we try to find out the gap, that what we are trying to study has already been studied or not in certain settings. Then, because of this, a good literature review requires a research topic to be thoroughly analyzed. Thoroughly analyzed means if whatever we want to do has already been done. So what we call it in a research language, that there is no point in reinventing the wheel. So we try to find out those areas which has not been studied earlier. Like if you will go back to the very high level of research, people keep on searching on a daily basis on the areas of their research, whether they're trying, whatever they are trying to find out, whether it has already been studied or not. So if that thing has already been studied, so they might have to make certain changes into their research area. Then we'll have to be preparing our methodology by which we are going to use in our research. And the last line says that do not attempt to write a literature review overnight. What does that mean? That we have taken certain seminal papers, very classical papers, then some papers of, say for example, we are in 23. So we must have taken some papers of 22, 21, 2015, 2010.
Gopan, mute yourself, please. Gopan. Yeah.
Okay. So what I was trying to explain here is that it is not a, we collect the literature over a period of 10 years, 20 years, or maybe before that. And then some of the research might have been published recently. So we cannot say that today we have finished with the literature review. By that time, we are going to submit our research work to the university for some seminar work or some other work. Some new literature might have come. So we should be able to know about those research, and if possible, if the university permits or the research guide permits, we can keep on adding those researches into our literature. Then there are a number of preliminary steps which needs to be considered. Determine whether the literature review will be quantitative or qualitative. Either choice will determine our emphasis on the statistics, topic selection, and narrowing down. Like we cannot start with writing everything which is being published. Otherwise, there are a lot of literature which is available and will not be able to find out what to study and how to study and where to conclude. So for that, I have developed something here. I'll come on that. So we'll have to work with our professor or research project mentor to select the topic, the broad topic basically where we're talking here. And then we'll have to find out what all the things are being published in textbook, what all the titles and abstracts were available in other books and the research journals, good quality research journals. And then the eliminations are available. And then we need to brainstorm with the colleagues, with the faculty colleagues, and then the research mentors, the professors, that how should we proceed by narrowing down from broader to the narrowing down with our research topic, like a funnel approach. Then we need to create a topic outline. Then we'll need to start with the literature with an introduction, identify the study area, explore the importance, identify the variables, and then engage in any theoretical discussion that are necessary for the logic of our literature review. Arrange all these raw research. This is a part of outlining, will be considerable easier whatever we have done. And for the good job organizing the data ahead of time. And then remember, as you outline, logical cohesion and flows are vital. Means we must flow in a certain direction. It cannot be like Professor Rahul has studied this and he has told this, Professor Roy has studied this and he has told this, some other professor has studied. So it cannot be like in a bits and pieces. It has to be in a logical flow. Means the broader research which has already been done in the area, then we can narrowing down up to a which is closely related to our area. Say for example, just in order to understand, we want to study the impact or the effects of social media. So social media is a very broad topic. What we want to study in the social media? Social media and the body image. Social media and the body image among whom? Among all the residents of the country. Becomes very difficult to find out or the narrowing down our research. So for this example, what we have done, we have tried to narrow it down towards the generation Z. So the one question we can formulate here from very broad area, social media, then social media and body image, then social media, body image among generation Z. So what is the one liner which we have made out of this? What is the impact of social media on body image among generation Z? So somebody might have done this study in generation X, somebody might have done this study in certain different settings, different set of people, different set of samples. So you can narrowing down with this type of questions which we may formulate after discussing it with the research mentor and the professor. Now, we'll have to search various keywords. While we will be searching our literature, so for social media, we'll be sometimes writing Facebook, sometimes on Twitter, sometimes on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. What about the body image? Self-perception, self-esteem, and mental health. So generation Gen, teenagers, adolescents, youth. So these are the few keywords which we need to identify. And after identification of the keywords related to each and every aspect of a research area. Research area means social media, body image, generation Z. So we can see there are various types of keywords which are available. So what will we do with these keywords? We will use the keywords in searching efficiently. How we are going to use them? Use balloon operators. What is this balloon operator? If I'll go back to the previous slide, I will use teenagers using the self-perception on Facebook, teenagers and their self-esteem on TikTok, youth and adolescents for mental health on Snapchat. So these are the different ways by using this and or not. So whenever we find out any database, maybe in a Scopus or EBSCO or maybe some other database which are available in our university, or we may go into some of the premier institutes to search for the data. So we use various operators. We call them the ballooning operators like and or not. So it becomes easier for us to refine because hundreds and thousands of journals are available, and on the thousands of journal, lakhs and lakhs of papers have already been published. So if we collect numerous data, numerous papers, say for example, 200 papers, 300 papers we have collected, becomes very difficult for us to read each and every paper and concise them and write a literature review. So what is the efficient way of doing it? Use ballooning operators. One. Second, what we can do while reading the research paper, say for example, it is a 20-page research paper. A lot of methodology has been used, a lot of paper has been used in that research. What we can do? We can read the conclusion, we can read the abstract. Then we can come to know that, okay, this particular research paper seems to be a very interesting and related to our area. Okay, let's put it in a different folder and we will use it in our study. Then you can check, okay, Now, one more issue comes, how to find out new research papers in the area. So, third point, use bibliographies. What do we use with these bibliographies? Or sorry, how do we use these bibliographies? Whatever a good paper, a seminal paper, or very most cited paper in our area is being, say for example, we have found that paper. The one example which I was taking earlier with the help of that SERVQL model, which I was telling you that being used by the Parshuraman, Zethamel and Berry. So if we got that paper, it was a very important paper written by Parshuraman, Zethamel and Berry in 1985. He had written two papers, 1985A, 1985B. So what all those references he has used? Or we got another paper where the same paper has been used as a reference. So you take a major paper, read their abstract, read their conclusion, and then go for their bibliography. It means whatever papers they have used in their bibliography, all those papers are related to that paper. So you can certainly make a funnel down approach. Okay, these are the few main papers. They have used these bibliographic material. I can also go for searching these bibliographic materials, then try to find out what all those papers have written in their abstract and conclusion, and then you keep on reading and writing, and then what are those citations which they have used. So I hope up till now I have made myself very clear that how we are proceeding on our studies. And Professor Roy, I'll request anyone if they want anything to be, repeat or something like that.
Yes, you can ask, no problem.
So if
yes, anybody.
Any confusion with any of the words or the topics which we are trying to understand here?
Sir, if you downloaded multiple diseases or the papers, then how we can able to identify that, okay, out of 100 or 200 papers, these 10, 20 are very much relevant and is related to our research topics.
Yeah, that's what, Mr. Gopan, I was just trying to explain this only. By using these ballooning operators and, or, and not, and where we were using was, with what words we are going to use this and, or not, previous slide, you can see. The keywords which we have identified for our broader topic. Like for social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, for body image, self-perception, self-esteem, mental health, for generation Z, teenager, adolescents, and youth. So if you remember 5 minutes back, I was just trying to narrate that by using these keywords with the help of these operators, I hope you can see this cursor, and, or, and not.
Yes,
you will be able to search down those papers. Now, you have searched 10 papers with these keywords. Then read their abstracts and read their conclusions. Now you further wanted to search. From where you will find the right area to search? Try to use the bibliographies. Check bibliographies from more sources. So whatever paper they have used in their paper, in their bibliography, take those papers and search. So by this way, you are not deviating yourself into the ocean of research. You are, what you are doing? You are following a funnel approach. You used a broad topic, then 2-3 other related areas, used a ballooning approach, and or not, read their abstracts, made your own notes, read their bibliographies, whatever bibliographies they have used, try to find out those papers, and accordingly then you can proceed on. I mean, it means whatever search you are making, it is in a related area, not in the ocean. See, just take an example of the ocean and the what do you call it? Pulse. Whenever
Rahul, sorry for the interruption. Gopal and other team members, if you can recall, and you can refer the Dr. Satakshi's presentation when she talked about inclusion and exclusion, and she gave example of dolphin or something. In between you type, then you got 80 papers and how to include certain keywords and how to exclude certain keywords to broaden your research topic. The Rahul is also referring the same thing. and by use Boolean operators and oblique or not. It is the same thing, but again, you have to understand, and there should not be any problem in getting the right papers the way they
Right.
are saying it.
And if we find out 5-10 good papers in our area, we know what all professors are writing in our area. And uh, like the problem Mr. Gopal may face that he is from the industry and may not be aware that in this particular area, what all those professors are
Yes,
there,
yes,
those
yes,
who are
yes,
doing the
Rahul.
research.
Yes, Rahul. You are right. Gopan is a general manager finance in Muthoot Finance. He is in industry,
Yeah,
but he is doing pretty good work. And I think at the end, he will be able to write a good thesis also.
right. Sir,
Thank you,
the
sir. Thank you
same
so
thing I
much.
was trying to tell you that I'm in marketing area or in supply chain. I know what all those professors are there in IIT and IIM. So if I could find out their 1 or 2 papers, I can, find out further more papers in that area. So Gopani, that is the best way to find out the right research papers for your study, that use some ballooning operators in some, what do you call it, database, say maybe from ABSCO or Emerald or some other database, and then use these ballooning operators and try to find out good 5-10 papers. And then read the bibliographies of those 5-10 papers, and then you will have a good amount of literature available with you. Are we clear up till now?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Then second aspect is ask questions about sources. What questions is being addressed in that paper? What are the key concepts? What are the theories and methods they have used? What is their result and how they have concluded? How does other relate to other studies? Like I'm sure if you read some good research paper, they will tell you in the paper that this variable which I'm using has already been used by this professor in this research article. One. Second variable which I'm using, they are being used by some other researcher in their paper. So academically, they are sure that whatever they are doing is already being studied and is already being used. Now, the result, you read the results of some good papers, they will also quote that this type of results was being proposed and being given by some other researchers in their papers, and they will quote the papers also. So it becomes everything is going in a perfect fashion. There is nothing has come like a eureka moment, as they might have not done like they have searched anything very special, which becomes people search it. I'm not saying people don't search very special things, but then you entitled for a Nobel Prize or something like that. Okay. Then what are the insights and arguments and the strengths and weakness of the research? And whenever you are reading them, always take notes, make the key points, and who are those authors, what are the titles and the journal name, in which year of publication that paper has been published, and how many pages, and whatever you are referring is being referenced on what page numbers of that paper. That depends on whether it is exclusively required or not. Sometimes in some research journal, they ask you to categorically quote that from, please write the page number also. Now, we are looking for a trend, theme, debates, some good publications, and after doing that, we are trying to find out what are those research gaps in this area. Now, we find out the papers, we read them, we make our notes, but how to write them? These are the 4 ways by which we can actually design our review of literature. This is the outlining. What does it mean? We can write it like a chronological order. Like in this time, this research was done. In this time, this research was done. I'll give you an example. I was writing a paper in a sustainability on supply chain. Now, sustainability in supply chain area has become a very apt topic on current area. But what all things has already been done in, for example, 2000 till 2020? What has been done in 2000 till 2010? What was being done in 90s? What has been done in 80s? So what is this chronological order says? These things were like this. Then 70s things were like this. Like I'm sure everyone must have heard about a word called Industry 4.0. So at random, overnight, this Industry 4.0 has not come. You can go back around 120 years before when Industrial Revolution has happened. So we start with that, the 1900 Industrial Revolution, then 40s during World War, then 80s, then 2000, and now in 2020, like we are following on Industry 4.0. So all these 120 years, we have divided them into 3 or 4 zones. That is what is organized by time. Then you can do your structuring on the basis of themes also. On a particular research area, these themes were followed and the paper were published on those themes. Sometimes we follow the methodology also. Sometimes people use this particular methodology on that particular area, then next, and next, and then theoretical concepts. That depends absolutely on you, what kind of structure you are going to follow. We'll discuss some more structures later in this presentation. Now, while writing this, we'll have to make 3 things clear in our mind, that we'll have to format our literature review in the introduction, body, and a conclusion. While during introduction, we'll establish a purpose, why we are doing it, what all the things have been studied. Then we are going to analyze, that is going to be the main literature part, and then summarize. Introduction, if it is a standalone literature review, you need to provide a background on the topic, describe the objectives of the literature review. If it is for a dissertation, thesis, or research paper, reiterate the central problem, briefly summarize the scholarly context. Few more points on this. Introduction, like a paragraph, 1 page, something like that will be sufficient for the introduction. You are going to introduce with a subject, then narrowing down into a manageable topic, explain the significance, formulate questions, and you have introduced now the topic. Then you go for the body, maybe divided in different sections. Like in some of the literature reviews, if you read on some papers, you will find they have given different headings. That this literature belongs to this area, then this means 5, 6, or 4, 5 topics has already been divided. It should not be like you started from the top and just keep on ending it, and you are not able to tell the reader that this particular paragraph or these particular pages belongs to this particular category. Then you evaluate your literature, synthesize them, make them structured in a paragraph, and then every time, whenever you are writing, you must cite from where you have taken this. Then provide the backgrounds, and this we have discussed that you'll have to theme based or trend based and approach based. Then summarize individual items with much detail as needed. Weave citations, descriptions of the literature with your analysis, and show the reader how this connects to your overall research questions. So weave citation means it should come like a flow. There are 2, 3 ways of writing that. Sometimes I'm sure you must have read in some literatures that first the name of the writer is being given, and then whatever he has said is being written. And in some review literatures, people used to quote first, and then in a bracket they used to give the name of the writers. Then you need to point out any methodological flaws, gaps in the research, and inconsistencies in the theory and findings. And in conclusion, summarize major contributions of the significant studies and articles in the body of knowledge. Standalone, discuss the overall implications, make suggestions for future research, and if it is for a dissertation, thesis, and all the research paper, show how the literature review has informed about the approach, state what gaps your research will address issues pertaining to the future study. So whatever I started with this note that when we are doing our research, we try to find out what has already not been studied, number one, what are those variables which are not being studied, and how we are going to use the previously studied variables in the new settings, in the new area, with the newer types of samples, in the new customer settings. And then only we will be able to design our objectives. Now we'll have to develop certain strategies. Some of them we must have discussed till now.
Hello.
Do not develop an outline at this stage. Research first and then outline later. Recording of the reference is essentially required. Whatever we are doing, whatever we are studying, keep citing, keep noting where you have studied this, because it becomes necessary that after finishing off our review literature or introduction, we'll have to cite them or quote them. Be selective and quality selection of sources, our burning and all those things will help. Peer-reviewed articles are a big deal, and all the bibliographic references will help us in finding out this. And this we just talked that the Scopus, Web of Science, ABDC, AppSco, Google Scholar, all those places we can use those keywords and find out the research papers related to our area by using the appropriate keywords, by using those buildings. Abstract database are helpful if used to be sure to order your articles. You cannot cite from mere abstracts in your paper. You must read and cite the entire article. So abstracts will give you an idea that what has been studied in this paper. But once you will read it, you will find various new things, various variables which have already been studied in this paper. Just a second. Okay. So a literature review, on the other hand, is an essay that covers the major finding of a field, how they relate to or are dissimilar from other findings, and major methodological and informational problems. So I was just telling you earlier also, whenever we are trying to find out any variable, we will quote them that have already been used in that particular paper. If we are going to find out any result in our study, we are going to quote them that's already been quoted by the particular professor or a researcher in their article on published on this. So whatever we are doing in our research, maybe in introduction or in the review literature and the results, every time we are going back to the academia and quoting them that this has already been explained by them and how we are going to relate with that. We are not only reinventing the wheel. What we are doing, we are taking a reference from the earlier studies. I hope I have made myself clear in this. Sir? Bopanji?
Yeah. Ask. I think it's pretty clear.
Right. Okay. So why literature reviews are considered important? Because they allow you to know just what is out there. They allow you to demonstrate mastery over a subject. They allow you to locate your area of research within the literature, such as how does this fits in with everything else and has been written on this subject. Now we can talk about a bit on the long versus short reviews. Literature reviews are divided between the long and short literature. Long literature reviews are those typically done for thesis, dissertation, and some journal articles, and these literature reviews will have dozens of cited studies and related with the theme. How we'll reach onto them, that's what we have discussed till now. Shorter review literatures maybe do with very few papers, maybe 5 papers or 10 papers, and may be used in writing some smaller research papers or some case studies or something like that. Themes versus authors, to organize by authors, it is simply discussing one author at a time, but it will not give you a proper flow. Like particular author have published this, second author, third author. The flow you will only get when you are writing in a particular fashion, like area-wise, topic-wise, and then from broader to a narrower one. Relationship. While writing the research paper on the thesis, demonstrate the ideas to correlate with your field of study. That's what we have been talking till now, that whatever we are doing, every time we are going back to academia and telling that this paper has been, these topics and the results and the variables are being used by or published by or being taken by a particular researcher and published in so and so journal and paper. Your literature review can help to justify that your study thesis and decision exist at all, and you can do this in various ways, like close the gap, test an aspect of a theory, replicates the importance of the study, retest a hypothesis with a new improved methodology by using a different statistical tool, and then create an original research. That's what I was saying. This is a rare, but in the field of science, in the field of pure science or economics, sometimes you come up with a very rare thing which was not earlier at all. That's what I said. Then you will be able to publish your article in a very, very high rated journals like Nature, or maybe Journal of Marketing, or Journal of, Journal of Retail Management, Retail Marketing. These are very, very highly reputed journals, and they will only select your paper once it is being coming up with a rare type of research. So you'll have to follow a lot of methodologies, research papers, then only you will be able to do this kind of research. Now, drafting a strategy. While drafting, topic outline must be in your mind. A logical progression should be summarized. Demonstrate consistencies in and relationship between literature and your study. Emphasizes stronger studies have better measurement of more consistent methods over one, and they are weaker. Make implications of information and any suggestions for future research as specific as possible. Means, I was telling you this earlier also, wherever we are writing, we must be quoting that this is being used in the earlier research. Whatever result we are coming up, we will be quoting that these results are being taken by certain researchers earlier also. Like, here I'll give you one example. Let's move with a paragraph. While writing a research review literature, how we are going to write. Researchers have conducted studies about sibling of special needs and autistic children because this group is vulnerable to the adjustment difficulties. So this is one, Chuskley 1999. So this is one way of writing it. Then how will you proceed? In fact, specialists have compared the sibling autism relationship with MR relationship. They have also studied the importance of the family and particularly. In addition, like this is the words which we have used. In addition, Kaminsky and Davy 2001 have also found out same way. This study likewise reports that these relationships were marked by fewer. So this is how we are going to link the previous study with the next study. See this, the last paragraph. Furthermore, reverse and installment.
Yeah, Rahul, 1 second. So, my dear scholars, this is a very important slide. The kind of flow we were talking about while in my classes, these are the words red marked. These are very important words, which gives you the flow of writing your literature review.
Right, sir.
And the thing which I was telling you, yes, very good. Tell me. Go ahead.
Last line. These results are also similar to MR sibling relationship as reported by Not et al. In 1995. So at every step we are going back to the academia and the literature that whatever we are doing, it is not a eureka moment. Sir.
Yeah, Rahul, perfect. Very good. So that's what I'm saying. This slide is very important, and when we share it, then you just focus whenever you have to make a flow and then how to write. I've said the connectivity should be there. So sometimes by using these words, rather most of the time using these words, you can establish a flow in your writing, which is required in a proper literature review.
Yeah. That's what
Gopan, this answers. Yeah, Gopan and Kushal, I think this addresses your question last time when you said that how to bring out the flow in the writing. This is the flow and connectivity I was talking about. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Go ahead, Rahul.
If they will write, the Chuxley have said this, Kaminsky and Devon have said this, Rivers and Stroman have said this, Knott has said this, then there will not be any flow in this. Then it will not be able to move from funnel down approach, the broader with the shorter and then narrowing down to your topic. And at the end, the results are also similar. Or it is not like that if the results are not similar, we are not going to quote it. Quote it as it is, that Mr. MR sibling relationship as reported by Knott, ET and all were like this, and my result says like this. There is no problem in quoting that whatever they have done is like this and I am doing it like this. There is no problem at all in that. Right, Gopanji?
Yes, sir.
So whatever we are coming up with our results, we are going to quote that. We are not going to change our result because somebody else has not done. Because they may have done in their different settings and we have done our research in a different setting. So should we move further?
Yes, Rahul, you can move ahead. And I think you should keep 5-10 minutes for question answer also at the end.
Sure, sure.
So 1 o'clock we have to finish. I also have a question that you need to
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Okay. Then citation, first place to issue is general field, and then you do not have to narrow down right away. And slowly we might have to quote the research paper, and then later on in the last, we are going to narrow it down and find out the gaps. Academic literature articles in the peer-reviewed journal are considered the best. Start with the most recent end work, backwards to the oldest. That's what I was telling you, that in the phase-wise also we can note, like the example which I was taking of the sustainable supply chain. So what is work is being done in last 3 years, and then we can quote them what has been done in the last 5 years, then before that in the last 10 years, and then before that in last 20 years, and before that in the earlier days. So we can move in a chronological order, so it becomes a perfect synchronized way of writing our literature. I was telling you that some of the papers are considered as a classical papers, and when we quote them, it gives us added advantage to us. The one example which I took of the circular Parshuramanan's Mulberry 1985. So wherever we find that somebody has quoted this, it means he has thoroughly studied the literature. He knows from where it has started. Are we clear on this, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. And read
Yes, sir.
thoroughly. Yeah. Any question, Kushalji?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Look for major figures in the field and major citations and articles. Then narrowing, all literature review will be focused. Don't write a literature review on vaccination policy. How should we write? Vaccination requirements, ethical and IPR related issues, availability of raw materials, international cooperation, and then we slowly move down in a very narrowing down to our area. You do the paraphrasing, there are numerous ways of jotting down. However, recommendation is to paraphrase as you read, because it saves a lot of time. Otherwise, every time you will have to go back and read it and then again rewrite it. Write down as you read, it saves you a lot of time. Cites as you go, because without citation, nothing can be written in that. Every article, every paragraph which you have written, it has to come from some of the earlier researches.
So
you can either maintain a separate section for each author, or you can create sections that deal with a similar idea and place the information within those sections.
Because
after the article paraphrase, organize the information by theme. Since their articles have read and paraphrased, organize the paper with the starts from there.
And the ChatGPT is created the list, and I try
Much in
to
this,
find
so
it
I'll just
publisher publication or literature.
Some advantages, like
in
since
a
you
particular,
cite as you go, all of your citations are
website or
complete,
particular
and
source
all
page
the
that
full article is
he-
paraphrased. You can
they give
choose
me,
which information
and
to
I
include
found
and which to
this-
exclude.
No,
Then you can use
It's
this
a fake.
whatever you have done. Like
And even at
if you
this
want
time,
that I
I
have
can
done this,
also
but it should
you
come
to
after 2
demonstrate
pages. You can take it from there and
what
paste
I'm
in the
saying
below,
meaning of my word.
and you have done a lot of work in this. Okay. Then you can, regardless of whether you choose a paragraph or you are not, you need a minimum full bibliographic reference, page of the work cited, page citation, methodology, major finding, area of expansion, and weakness and strength. This we have talked that we'll have to talk about the reliability and validity of the our sample size and the questionnaire or the instrument, whatever we are making, we'll have to make it. And sampling and demographics is such a significance. This I told you that you have to do the pilot study before further progressing on to your study. Then we talked about the flow and how you move from major to narrowing down. Then some writing types like only use acronym, not just the first person, avoid slangs, colloquials and idioms, make sure that every source you cite in the paper included in the reference, and double space all lines under all pages, do not fudge around the margins that sometimes people do, not with the people those who are doing PhD. API recommendations, past discuss or present perfect have discussed with the presenting results. Chicago and MLA are a little more accepting in the present tense. But generally, what we have seen that the APA style of referencing is being followed in most of the papers. Literature review should be, sections will be similarly structured as they are done in other types of writing. For example, in other essays, the best sections have instructions to new topic area, a review of the main point and orders of presentation. A summary of each section is a good idea as you can summarize complex research for your reader. A summary is also a good place to comment on problem with the research. So you cannot skip the citation, reference, and plagiarism is very difficult. You cannot copy more than one line or two. You'll have to paraphrase it and quote it from where you have done it. So this is what I have done from my side. Any questions? Everyone is most welcome, sir.
Before they ask a question, Rahul, just
Sir.
tell me one thing.
Sure, sir.
One of the scholars